Hello everybody, Jerry here, and I'm very happy today to introduce you to an interview with a good friend of the show, Hardeep Singh Kohli. Hardeep is a comedian, a presenter, a writer, a producer, a chef, and a very, very wonderful man who, over the past few months, Paul and I have been lucky enough to get to know and call our friend. We met at Byline Festival down in Sussex. Had a great time with him and have kept in touch ever since. We hope that we'll stay in touch with him for a long time. As always, you can catch us on our website, www.notanotherfakenewscast.com. You can find us on social media, on Facebook and on Twitter at PGMcast. You can get in touch with us via our email address at info@notanotherfakenewscast.com. And if you really enjoy the show and want to show your support and get involved, then you can chuck us a buck at Patreon, and it's patreon.com/PGMcast. So without further ado, let's hear from the legend that is Hardeep Singh Kohli.
Come gather round me, children, I'll tell you the news. Don't worry about the names or dates, you already know it's true. The doctor hates your baby, the prime minister's a ghost, and all them folks are sailing here 'cause they're in love with boats. Superfoods can save us from all our evil sin. JFK and Elvis own a bar in Wisconsin. And vaccinations were created by the CIA to steal votes from Bernie Sanders and turn your babies gay. So click the link you think you like and get tooled for a fight against those lefty fascist communists who are leaning too far right.
Hi, welcome to another Fake Newscast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Jerry, and we're here today with our very special guest, Mr. Hardeep Singh Kohli.
He's more than a special guest, he's a good friend of the podcast.
He is a wonderful, wonderful human being, although he hides it so well.
You're such a fucking prick. We need to just, I feel like I'm hanging out with my cousins is what I feel like. My white cousins from that part of the family nobody talks about. You're having an affair with a white fella who was so white that the cousins turned out whiter than brown. So that's big. I don't want to get complicated about it, but that's who you are.
I kind of look like a white version of you though.
I think in many ways you are a white.
I think so.
A little less polished, let's say, and a little less socially aware, but we'll get there, son.
I'm much younger, so swings around a bush really head. We'll get there.
You are, but you're on paper, I'm much younger, but your skin says otherwise, so here's the science bit.
Up in your face. Up in your face.
Love your beard. I love a man with a beard, Jer. Gives you something to hold on to,
Well, that's why I don't have a beard, Hardeep.
I think you find I've just met your wife, so you do have a beard. I've done an excellent joke about homosexuality. Right, let's get to the essence of this podcast.
Yeah, so
beer going on. Should we just explain that?
yeah, we're drinking beer. It's a Sunday. We're chilling out. We're going to have some nice food after this.
This is what God wanted.
God, Paul.
If He wanted you to drink beer on a Sunday, that's the rule, right?
There is no God. If there was a God, she'd be pissing ourselves at us just now.
Nice use of she there as well. That's it.
Yeah.
Settle the patriarchs that are listening. Not that I imagine any patriarchs.
Smash
mustn't be us.
I just need to say though, the reason I'm here, the reason we're pals is that I think you guys represent the very best of what our country has to offer. So that's why I'm here. And I have great admiration and no shortage of love for the Perrys. And I mean love. I love who you are. And I love what you represent.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We very much appreciate it.
Yeah.
Get the drugs out then.
Like you said, the best of what our country can offer. Yeah.
As for any listeners, just say no. No thanks to drug dealers. Don't be polite even to a drug dealer.
No, thank you.
No, thank you very much.
No, but I appreciate it.
Just say no.
That was Grange Hill, wasn't it?
That was, Jerry. Thank you for being the voice of reason.
Yeah. I remember. Do you remember, weirdly, why did they have reruns of 80s Grange Hill in the late 90s when we were kids? That was quite bizarre.
Well, I worked in children's telly. I went to BBC Children's in London.
Won BAFTAs for children's television as well.
Apparently so, just the two. And I'm like doing a TV show. I loved doing the show called Get 100. Google it, it's honest to God. It was actually an adult format from Japan. And the aim was to get as close to 100 as possible.
Right.
And all the answers were numbers. And you can either take, if you got the number right, so for example, a gross is how many? It's 144. If you get that right, Joe, you can either take 144, you can give it to somebody else and fuck their life up for the day. And it was great fun. And I remember doing this, I was like 50, half a year's worth. It was like 4 a day, 13 days, right?
Right.
It was hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as good down the mines is hard work, this obviously is much harder. And then they ended up going, I can't wait for the next series. And they said, well, there's not going to be one because we just showed this one to the next load of kids that come through. And that was the disappointing thing about kids' tellies because the audience is always replenishing.
Yeah.
You don't need to spend money on another series, just show the same one again. So that's probably why.
That's
Actually makes sense as well because you're addressing fundamental social issues or stuff like that in something like Grange Hill, but those issues in the grand scheme of things don't actually change regardless of. I mean, I know they might change like little bits for.
If you want to keep kids engaged, though, you need to be showing them something that's a bit more current and stuff as well.
You see that, but think of all the cartoons we watched.
The little Wilder folk didn't swear. Do you know what I mean? And in the only folk where there's a brown kid that's not called a Paki and a black kid that's not called a nigger. I mean. So, for me, how much social realism can you actually deal with?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's it. You really can't. I mean, the idea that, like, my kids who are, 7 and 9, they absolutely 100%. Like, my daughter swears sometimes knowing that she's either going to get in trouble or knowing that she can kind of get away with it in the context that she's doing it. So, in my mind, there is no doubt, because I remember being at primary school, and in my mind, there is no doubt that on the playground, they're swearing like sailors because they can. There's nobody to stop them doing that.
How is it sailors get such a bad press in the swearing?
To be fair, I work at sea and we do swear a lot.
Fair enough.
In
many ways, you've been described as a kind of an armada of a man. Jerry, I saw that on the internet. Because you're full of semen. What I've done there is a joke based on a camel.
The thing I was going to say is, right, my kids watch Octonauts sometimes, okay?
What?
Octonauts it's called, and I really fucking hate this show, and I'll tell you for why. All of the people in the show who have like positions of authority all speak in really like clipped like English accents, and all of the incidental characters or the comedy characters all speak with regional accents, and it's like, are you trying to tell my fucking kids something?
Were you not talking about this the other day? My best friend Kathleen pointed this out to me, right? So I'm a communicator, that's my job. My job is to create commonality and to make you feel part of something. And for me, and I think this is the Glaswegian way,
yeah,
and possibly the Scottish way, not including Aberdeen, for obvious reasons. We need to focus on our commonality and not on our... Because we could sit here now, the three of us, and spend an hour talking about things that are different about us.
Yep.
Or we could just do what we've done since the fucking minute we met, which is celebrate where we intersect.
Yeah.
And where we intersect is something that ought to be celebrated. And so for me, language is a hugely important part of that. And I'm not from the Bull Self school of language. I know some big words, right?
Yeah.
But if I use big words unnecessarily, it alienates you. When what I want to do is I want to pull you closer. I want you to curate and not to be exiled. And similarly with our dialect, and it's heartbreaking. One of my best pals from school, she was sent for elocution lessons because her mom didn't want her to sound Glaswegian, and I'm like, I fucking love being home. I love being home. Yeah, you've noticed it as well.
Yeah.
My accent changes.
Oh, absolutely.
When my phone goes and it's someone from England.
Yeah, you start talking. I mean, you never go full Glasgow uni.
But that's like in many ways that's a necessity. When you're working, travelling abroad, or travelling down south, and you're having to interact with people, you end up having to adjust your accent just in order to be understood and be heard.
Here's the point: do they ever adjust their accent?
No, of course not.
But Jerry, you don't have to talk as if you've got a Glasgow University accent, though. Like, I'm just saying that. Like,
No, you don't.
that doesn't
I mean,
make it better.
Even when I lived in Abu Dhabi, I still pretty much spoke like this.
I fucking love how he says Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi.
Say it again, son.
Abu Dhabi.
Seemed to be a gruffness there on that second run.
I was going for it.
This is Arab Emirates, sonny.
I could say Ras Al Khaimah. How'd you like that?
Not so good.
Ah, sorry.
No.
He's gone.
Rude the
Put
moment.
me off.
So, as somebody who comes from a Sikh background, living in the UK at the moment, how are you finding Brexit? How are you finding the sort of advancement of
Rise of the right type stuff, right?
And I guess
It's a very strange thing, yeah, because so here's the thing that's quite, it's a kind of so right, let me give you for instance, right, I was having lunch with this poor fella here the other day, and he mentioned how his brother's a mad Arsenal fan,
right,
and he could never get tickets for a game, and I'm like, well, I can get you tickets really easily, and it's that thing of kind of going, and you catch yourself saying it because it's not, because like, I mean, I've got the bus and the train here. I hope not to be up my arse, and for me, it's usually important to remain in amongst the people that propel me to where I am. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The last thing I want to do is remove myself from my context. Then you become Oasis' third album, and nobody talks about that in glowing terms. And so for me, it's a stage in life thing that I happen to know Boris Johnson. I happen to know Michael Gove. I mean, I work with Michael, and I'm in Boris' room for dinner, and I think Boris Johnson is. I mean, I think the reason he is being as successful as he is because he is weirdly lovable.
right,
But the way a liar is lovable, we all know that guy that never told the fucking truth in school.
yeah.
But he's funny as fuck.
It's great to be. It's great to be around, but at
The
the same
stories
time,
were excellent, just none of them were
but
true.
you
Fucking moped.
yeah, totally.
From the country. And Michael Gove, I mean, I feel for Michael on lots of levels because my personal experience of him has been a charming, self-deprecating man.
Well,
I just think he's not true to himself because,
we didn't describe him in very endearing, in a very endearing way not so long ago. So,
listen, I'm not saying this is nothing to do with Michael Gove or all this.
yeah.
But sometimes you meet folk who are not prepared to engage with their sexuality. Right? It's nothing to do with Michael Gove. This is a more general story about people.
Right.
Nothing. I'm not saying anything about Michael Gove. We moved on from Michael Gove.
Yeah, this is
So, gay men, nothing to do with Michael Gove. Gay men that pretend to be straight.
yeah.
How honest can they be in other areas of their lives? I'm not out people. This is nothing to do with Michael Gove, right? Because Michael's happily married to a woman. So, it can have nothing to do with Michael Gove. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oscar Wilde was also married.
Elton John,
Elton
married.
John, classically married.
I tell you a funny story. So my boy, right? My boy's 26. My boy worked with Ministry of Sound, right? I couldn't be fucking proud of my son.
Yeah,
And when he was wee, all the kind of the music channels all fucking exploded. There was like 12 music channels, and we used to do this game. We started when he was about 8 years old. Would sit and watch on the couch, and would flick, and if you can guess the song, you got the point, right? And there was an unwritten rule, which is if the song's good, you just watched it to the end instead of flicking to the next channel. So we're sitting watching, then Wake Me Up Before You Go comes on, right? The Wham, classic song.
Classic.
And we're sitting watching, he's like 9 years old. And obviously, I fucking swept the floor with him until hip hop happened, and he was 13, and then he fucking swept the floor with me. But I'm not watching Andy and George cavorting with their tight tennis shorts and the shuttlecocks doing the front of the shorts. No, we didn't. I said to someone, son, we didn't know they were gay. They weren't gay pop stars when we were wee. And his dad, look at them. And I'm like, I know, but it just wasn't a thing.
It wasn't them.
He goes, he had that look in his eye. He was getting to that point where he was questioning his dad,
aye.
It's got to come.
I know.
For all he is, you probably had it.
My boy's brutal. My boy's brutal.
Anyway, running the next video, and it's Nikita by Elton John. I said, very lackadaisically, and when we were kids, Elton John was married with a Wayne. And he goes, Dad, he said, take the fucking piss, and he stormed out. I'm like, Anyway, so I find, I was just watching stuff last night, and listen, I was shortlisted to stand. I was a prospective parliamentary candidate for Eastern Barnshire in 2015. And stood down because one of my oldest friends was also shortlisted for the same constituency, because I'm an SNP member. I believe in independent Scotland. I believe in the restoration of our nation. And it seems very pronounced to be saying that the train I got here from Glasgow Central, right, let's just push those goosebumps back in again. The penultimate stop was here. The final stop was a place called Lanark. And Lanark for me represents the potential of the Scottish nation. In New Lanark, during the Industrial Revolution, a Welshman, Robert Owen, set up what can only be described as a genuine utopia, a socialist utopia, where the first kindergarten in the Western world. And by putting a kindergarten in, so quite often in politics and in a social change and development, it's not the thing that you do, it's the implications of the thing that you do.
Yeah.
So when you set up a kindergarten, you are then freeing women to be able to go to work. And the fact that women are free to be able to go to work isn't the point per se, it's the fact that they show their ability as human beings, not based on their gender. So that was happening there, We furnished the Industrial Revolution. We name an invention. We invented it. The steam hammer, the train, penicillin, sectarianism, all invented in Scotland.
We actually spoke about something else on Friday, and this is another thing that I only found out this week. Do you know that the fax machine predates the telephone?
No, I didn't. But I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense.
So, but it predates it to the point where Napoleon had a fax machine.
Right.
Like, so essentially the fax machine, but it was also invented by a Scotsman. But it was in the mid-18, so it was like 1860. I've got it off the top of my head straight away, don't know, but yeah.
It's really interesting. We've been threatening to do this recording for a good,
a couple of months now, yeah.
And so, right, well, I'll just tell this story, right? So, me and Paul were out for lunch on Friday, and Friday was it?
Friday, yeah.
Today's Sunday, and yesterday, me and my best pal Kathleen were in my local boozer, and they didn't have a DJ tonight. No one had booked anyone, and I DJ there every now and again. Couldn't love that. This is where we come in and do it. And I said to Kathleen, I've fallen in love with this beautiful version of Fields of Athenry. Yeah. I need to explain. I went to a Catholic school in Glasgow. I could sing the Soldier Song before I could sing Flower of Scotland. My knowledge of Irish politics and Catholic politics in Ireland is
strong.
Stronger than it should be for a brown fella from Bishop Briggs,
right?
And I wanted to play the Fields of Athenry, and Kathleen's like, "You can't play that in the pub."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "How?" It's a beautiful song, and it's a song about, and this is why people like me. Oh God, that's the most arrogant thing I want to say. People like me are important, right? Because I'm not important. I'm an immigrant class, which sits right next to the working class, right? I'm a guy that still travels on the bus. I'm a guy that has no interest in being famous. I'm in local parentis. I'm there for the folk that can't be on telly and the radio and all the rest of it. And I do what I do for my people. I'm a socialist. I don't give a fuck about anything. I believe in the redistribution of wealth, and since my government's not going to do it, I'm going to do it personally. Which is why I never have any money, because I'm always giving it to somebody else, or I'm always doing this, because that's the way we should be.
Yeah.
How can we sleep when we know there's a Wayne gone to bed at night hungry? How can we sleep when we know there's someone in the 6th wealthiest country in the world?
Yeah.
They tell us. Think about the 6th wealthiest person you know. Do you think anyone in their family's gone without a meal? Do you think anyone in their family's sleeping rough? Oh, they fuck. So, it's the great. When Mahatma Gandhi came to England in the 1930s, King George, I forget which one, said to him, "So, Mr. Gandhi, what do you think about Western civilization?" And Mahatma goes, "I think it'd be a good idea."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's where we are now. And so.
And it's not, it's not just that it's not that we're one of many Western civilizations that is doing the same things to their people. We're much worse than everybody in our locale. If you look at the stats for child poverty in the rest of Western Europe. We're
UN did a fucking report on child poverty in the UK.
Yeah.
Since 2008, the 1,000 wealthiest families have increased their wealth by 112%. You Google how many folk on disability benefit have committed suicide, and if Ian Duncan Smith was anyone else but a cabinet minister, there'd be questions asked in police stations across the country.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously there was the recent front page about we won't let our crowd bosses around or whatever it was. Remember, we had actually posted it on our Facebook.
Leave.eu put it up.
Leave.eu.
They apologised the next day and I believe removed it.
Because it's xenophobic as a motherfucker. But
damage is already done by that.
And it's already, and we speak about this all the time. The fact that once it's out there and it's been spread, regardless if you can put a retraction, much the same as the front page of newspaper, you can put a retraction to page 12. Nobody's reading the page 12, nobody's thinking about it. But what I was going to say is, even the sentiment of we won't let a crowd bosses around, but it comes up all the time. A lot of things that we discuss. Where if you look at Germany for social aspects, crime, the way that things are running, stuff like that, the way that the country is generating money, the way that people are being treated, their healthcare and their it's like maybe we should let a crowd bosses around, because comparatively Germany is running as a much smoother and nicer country than the UK certainly is.
You make a very astute point. But what upset me on the train over here today, because for folk that don't know, so Glasgow, right, I'm going to get pelters for this, but this is the truth. Glasgow has the potential to be a great world city. And there's one thing that holds it back. And only one thing.
Sectarianism.
Yeah.
You know, while we're knifing folk for wearing the wrong colour cagoule on the day of Old Fur Village, well, I have to wake up in July to the sound of flutes and drums in the street outside my flat. You know, while there are people alive today who couldn't get jobs in the Glasgow City Council because they were Catholic.
Yeah.
Well, so this is one of the things that this is actually stuff that I don't actually think I've ever actually touched on in the many years that you've now been doing this podcast. But my father was my father worked in IT and had a company, and it was very successful. But he stood by the fact across the board, and he actually only passed away last year. I'm sure we discussed it at some point, but he stood across the board that was in his life growing up, he couldn't get certain jobs that he had applied for, and he in Glasgow because he grew up, because he was a Catholic, he wouldn't get employment. I mean, one of my recent customers I just brought on, whose name I will redact because there's no we shouldn't, because he still works, but that's what he was saying. The only reason he set up the company that he set up, that is very successful by the way, but the only reason that he set it up was because when he was trying to get contracts, when he was working as a kind of contractor in the city centre, because he was a ginger, very, very Irish Catholic looking boy with a very Irish Catholic name, he wasn't going to get the contract regardless, and all he could do to do that was set up a company and essentially go through proxies to get the contracts, because he could do the work and he was great at the work, but they wouldn't give him the work because he was a ginger Catholic boy.
No dogs, no Irish.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's the story of almost every newest immigrant community to the UK is that they kind of go through that and excel and get themselves into positions.
It's so different in this country from any other. I'm on the train on the way over, so I was explaining. So Glasgow's run by sectarianism, and we're in a part of Lanarkshire where we're not far. How far is Larkhall for you?
Not far.
Less than 10 mile.
Right. So Larkhall is the only place in the world where the Subway sandwich place is black. It's the only place in the world where they have to put grates over the green lights. Green lights.
Yeah, on the traffic lights.
So you can't have green grass in your front garden. I mean, that was always the joke. But essentially, they'll put down tarmac rather than have green grass in the front garden because.
And obviously, this is Sunday, and for where we are in terms of the timeline of Brexit, yesterday was a super Saturday that never happened. And the Letwin amendment went through, and we're now watching folk selling a deal that's worse than Theresa May's deal and loading it as the greatest thing that's ever happened. And we're talking about Ireland. And I have a lot of love for Ireland. And listen, I believe in listen, I'm from Indian heritage, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
You don't believe that the British government has any right to be drawing borders across the island of Ireland?
I just think, why, when you refer to Ulster, you refer to 6 counties, not 9, right? We fucking to get in the way of your fucking argument, you bunch of cunts, right? And what you've done is, you shuttled Western Scotland Presbyterians over to gerrymander the vote so that Ireland would never be united. And I'm sitting here, and I was sitting chatting to a woman for Derry last night, and when I was DJing in the pub, and my best friend from school, Jackie Sharkey, lives in Gweedore. She's a folk singer and a solicitor, as you are in London. I fucking love the work of Sheridan and of Shaw and Wilde and the rest of it. And I'm sitting there kind of going, I mean, we're 2019. It might as well be fucking 1719.
Yeah.
Because the only folk that are going to suffer because of the colonialism of the English are the Irish. No one in fucking Westminster is going to suffer for this fucking deal that Boris has done.
No, and a great example of how backwards it is, Hardeep, is that in the last week, in the run-up to this Super Saturday, the DUP, after having reviewed the terms of the deal, they didn't sit down with farmers, agricultural leaders. They didn't sit down with fishing, heads of fishing, heads of industry. They didn't sit down with people who are interested in commerce or IT or engineering or anything like that. They went directly and sat down and had a meeting with the head of the UDA and the head of the UVF. And that's the people who we've given £1 billion to. And
but I'll tell you something, right? And it's we're in such an intensely identity-driven kaleidoscope of political activity that we tend, in a more balanced time, we will reflect on the things that don't happen and give them the same weight as the things that do.
Yeah.
But because there's such an intensity of things that are happening, we don't have time to think about what's not happening. Nobody's actually stopped to say, in terms of a point of principle, that Sinn Féin could have taken their seats in Parliament and changed the outcome of the government in Westminster.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sinn Féin have principle. I mean, whatever else you think about Sinn Féin, they took a principle stance not to swallow their words and take a vow to a queen that they don't recognise.
Yeah.
But nobody gives them credit for that. Do you know what I mean? I give Sinn Féin credit for anything? I don't know.
I see where you're coming from. And I think, yeah, okay, it is good to stick by your principles. There's not enough of that in modern day politics. However, I would say that, nobody in Northern Ireland has had the wherewithal to be able to sit down and fucking make peace to the extent that they can actually sit at Stormont and decide the future of their country. And that's what we're coming up for 3 years now. So,
democracy.
If Ian Paisley and Mark McGuinness were able to sit down and resolve our differences to be able to make sure that their political parties stood at Stormont and sort stuff out, then surely this latest generation should be capable of that.
Whatever else, I mean, the 6 counties that they call Ulster got the best fucking looked after cows in the world, don't they? Warmest fucking barns.
They're very warm barns. Yeah. Many a new boiler. I mean,
I live in a barn when I go out of London. The point for me is, to come back to the original question from about half an hour ago.
It's hardly a barn, maybe add. It's hardly a barn.
I have never felt such clarity about my country. I've never felt such a point of difference with the English. I mean, I did a TV show last year that put me in amongst a lot of English folk. And I've lived it. Listen, technically I was born in England.
This is Celebrity Big Brother we're talking about.
If you want to give that name, we'll give that name. I was born in England, came up here when I was 4 years old, and I'm Scottish because I could play football for the Scottish team. And the way we're playing right now, I'm 50, but I still play the game. I should do that in those fucking show that fucking got beat 6-0 by Russia. And I'm not kidding. Listen, my daughter was born down the road. My ex-wife, my best friend, still lives down there. My kids regard London as their home.
I was going to say, by down the road, you do mean London. You mean London, just for those who don't know you.
And London, London's a great place. And here's the thing that I find really strange, is if immigrants and immigration and all that was so fucking awful, One place that would have voted resoundingly to leave would have been London.
Yeah.
Funny enough, it didn't.
Yeah.
Who did? Folk were almost exclusively white. This is the problem. Folks say to me, well, this racism that's appeared, it's not appeared, it was there. The difference is we've enabled people. I mean, the day after the vote, right? So I was working on Pick of the Week, Radio 4, I was in Salford. And my then girlfriend, who is of Jewish heritage but Glaswegian lassie, who lived in London, she was desperate to come up the road. She said, I don't want to be alone for this because it's going to go badly. I'm like, calm it, Ruth, it'll be fine. And of course,
it wasn't.
Judge Jules, which is like Pete Tong, but worse.
I like that.
It's getting used. It's getting used.
And I mean, again, and so you've got this collision of my practical life with my political life. I moved back to Scotland for the referendum in 2014 because I wanted my country to be independent.
As did I.
Right. And I was told, and I mean, listen, it doesn't take a psephologist like John Curtis to tell you that a number of votes were secured for Better Together with the notion that, you want to remain in Europe. So I'm sitting here watching these cars crashing slowly on my television screen, knowing full well the next day I've got to go to the studio and my voice, your voice suffers when you're not asleep. When you don't have pictures to carry things through, you need to rest your voice. I've had a 3 hour sleep. I cried. 48-year-old man cried myself to sleep because I thought the lies they told us.
Yeah.
The next day, I think I need to go to the shop. I need to get some stuff. I need to get the papers just to make sure what I think has happened. Because there was a sense of disbelief. I'm in the queue. There's a Tamil guy, right? He's been in the country 2-3 years, bless him. And behind me there's a workie with a high vis jacket on. And I have an issue with authority the best of times, right? And this vote's happening. I'm like, bunch of fucking liars, right? And I go by the papers, and I've got English money in my pocket, but I pointedly take a Scottish note out and pay with my Scottish note. Poor guy, he's like, sorry sir, I can't accept this. I'm like, no, you can, it's fine.
This is where Salford.
Yeah, in England, right? And for any Scot that's had Scottish money and been in England, it's had a nightmare. I'm not going to fucking, I'm not going to step down, right? And I was sleep deprived and I was upset. And he goes, no, I can't take it if you got any other money. Other money in my pocket, I was being a prick. But I was making a point.
Yeah.
I said to him, accept our money. And the guy behind me, the work, he said, listen, son, either pay or fuck off back to your own country. But you know what astonished me? How do you know I was from Scotland? That's what I had the day after.
So there's a thing you've said to me previously, which I have repeated about 10 times to various people I've spoke to because I thought it was such a great way of summing up how things are at the moment.
Is it choke me?
No. It really spoke to me, and it was when you were talking about irrationality and rationality and racism, and then you were talking about how, at the moment, basically, people's views are fully in the public sphere, whereas previously people would have kept their stuff quiet. Obviously, people don't overnight become irrational. Could you talk us through that?
Listen, when I was away and growing up in Glasgow, we can idealise Glasgow. I love this city. Like, this is my home, and it's the best city in the world. It's the best country in the world. But it's not that we didn't have problems, right?
And we still definitely do. We still definitely do.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, I'm a bit older now, and our folk have been here for generations, so you don't get called a packy so much these days, but when you're away, you are. And the thing for me was, I always wanted to be in the open, right? I still work at the BBC, and I know for a fact, if I was a white fella, I'd have had other breaks. It just would have happened. It's just a different thing.
You almost meet a quota for them. Like, you get to, like, they have
Yeah, but
They-
now
they
they
can-
you folk to the quota.
yeah. But
Ramesh is taking all his work.
So the nicer guy I couldn't think of. But you know, you only need to speak to women in this world, incredibly qualified, eminently qualified women who are not paid the same for doing the same work. So
Yeah.
it's not new, but for me, I would rather it was out in the open, because when it's out in the open, I can deal with it. And the one refreshing thing I found since the Brexit vote is we realise what we're having to deal with.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell me to fuck off back to where I come from, because I come from here, you know, and I need to own this. I am, you know, no one's a more proud Scot than I am. No one knows our history. No, you know, but of course, folk don't mind you because they're professors and all that shit, right? But, you know, I love my country, I care about my country because this is where I'm from. This is where my boots are. This is where I'll be cremated. And the Clyde is the river where my ashes will be thrown. This is who I am, and I wouldn't be who I am without my country and without my city. So you're not going to tell me where to go. I'm going to tell you where to go, because I'm part of our future. You may be part of our past. So you need to shut up.
Yeah.
You fucking ball bag.
But the 20 years or so where, I mean, I might, obviously my experience of racism is going to be somewhat different to yours, Hardeep.
Almost
but-
non-existent,
but
I would say,
I
Jerry.
certainly feel
It's
that
interesting you say that. It's not non-existent.
I certainly feel that in the last 5 years or 4 years or so, people are a lot more vocal, and they're willing to say things which for 15 years would have been deemed kind of socially unacceptable
does it not- is that-
in most company.
But does that not make it maybe not nicer? Nicer's not the right way to summarise it, but at least better because essentially if you know they're racist,
Yeah.
then you know they're racist as opposed to racist behind closed doors.
About Glasgow, as the folks said to me, you love your city so much. I mean, you know, and there was always that myth that Glasgow was less racist than anywhere else. And it wasn't. It was just we were fucking kind of wound up about sectarianism more than we were about racism. And here's the thing about Glasgow, right? Glasgow's no more or less racist than anywhere else. The difference is, for all the bandpots that will call you a pack in the street, for every one of them, there's one woman or man that will not just stand by you, will stand in front of you.
Aye. And tell them to fuck off.
I have never known a city of people. Like the Perry is, if we walked in the street and somebody says something to me, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I know instinctively,
Kick fuck at them.
you'd be there before me.
Aye, man, definitely.
So when you say your experience of racism is less than mine, it might be on the face of it, statistically. But you and I are as offended by anti-Semitism as a Jewish person. It might be that their experience on a daily basis is more kind of more easily attributable and more easily recordable.
Yeah.
But I hate the fact that I live in a world where your gender propels you. You know, and I'm not a feminist because I fucking read The Guardian, because I don't. I'm a feminist for selfish reasons. I'm a feminist because 100 years ago there might have been a woman who, had she been allowed in university, could have created a cure for cancer. I'm a feminist because 50 years ago there might have been a woman born who could have applied her knowledge of international history and diplomacy to the Middle East and created a two-nation solution. I'm a feminist because 25 years ago there might have been a woman born that could have got Scotland through to the knockout stages of any fucking football competition. I'm a feminist.
Well, it's like we were when I left you on Friday. I ended up back at a friend's house and we were discussing a thing. So there is from Wisher, where we're from. There's a guy who's known for being like essentially to use a Little Britain type thing. Like he was the only gay in the village for forever. Do you know what I mean? Like he's a big known gay guy and he's like 6'5", and I'm not mentioning name, but like he's a big lad. Do you know what I mean? By any means, like, well, I mean the people who are from Russia, they'll know who we're talking about here. But the guy in question, we were discussing it, and the thing is, so he's gay, and Wisher is rough around the edges. You know what I mean? It's steel workers and coal miners, and that's what the background was.
That's what made Scotland.
Lumberjacks.
And lumberjacks like myself, but
They work all night.
but the guy in question, that's what, like, see if he was being a dick, you can treat him like being a dick, and see if he was like acting an asshole, people can like fight him in the street for being an asshole. But there's old boys who are 40 who worked in the Craig all their days who are absolutely definitely probably borderline racist and sectarian and everything else, and probably don't give women the right values that they've got. But if they seen a group of younger boys picking on said guy for being gay, like it's not accepted. Like he's allowed to be a gay guy. Like don't you hit him for being a dick, but you can't hit him for being gay because he's like our gay. Do you know what I mean? Like do you know what I mean?
I've got a minute because I'm desperately the piss for the beer I've had. We'll do that now.
Yeah. So Hardeep, you mentioned earlier that you were on the list. You were on the list to
You're
run
on a list.
for SNP. I think you said Eastern Bartonshire.
Eastern Bartonshire, Bishop is where I grew up.
So, is it something that you would consider doing again in the future?
It's a really interesting dichotomy. Because I mean, obviously, when I was full disclosure and backstory, I was at law school when I clung. So we're friends. We've been friends for 30 years, and so for me, it would be, and I'm kind of a known commodity, and I'm a good communicator, all the rest of it, things I've spent my life doing. So if I did go for public office, I would be utilised for my country. My problem is, I just wonder how much one gets done, one achieves in public office. Listen, I'm an SNP card carrying member, I pay myself every month. Yet still, we have poor kids in Scotland. Still, we don't have a balanced diet in Scotland. Those things matter to me, and it's not to say there's not the intention and the will in public office to do it. It's just that, am I more able to achieve that without the strictures of public office? That's one thought. The other thought is, we have the most hateful press in Scotland, and there's part of this self-loathing Scotland has. Now, you and your missus are going to go, are going to go to a Chinese restaurant me and your cousin Paul went to yesterday, right?
Right.
And I'm sitting there and I said to you, I've eaten dim sum, I'm obsessed with Chinese food, right? It's just food, and as a chef, food is a massive part of my life. And Chinese food is a massive, massive part of that massive part of my life. And so the way white folk go for a curry on a Friday night, the Browns go for a Chinese on a Friday night. That's what we do. And I've eaten dim sum across America, across Europe, across UK, every Chinatown, in Hong Kong, in China, all over the place. In India, loads of Chinese food in India. And we were sat having lunch the other day, and it's some of the best dim sum I've ever had. But the problem is, because it's in Glasgow, folk don't believe it's that good because we have a self-loathing. We don't ever think anything we do is good. And that's where that press mentality comes from, that we want to pull ourselves down instead of celebrating what we do. And the thing is, the press has been so fucking horrible to me. And my family, it's just like, do I really want to go through that? Is that really why I signed up for public office?
Like me and Paul have discussed, the possibility of, getting involved in politics on a more, frontline level and putting ourselves up for
I mean, I've even recently been asked to stand to start that process for Labour, but
Good luck with that.
oh, tell me about it. It's just
Well, I think they're struggling for folks.
they're struggling for folk clearly because they're scraping the fucking barrel when they've looked at it like. But
You'd be a great booking for Labour. You'd be a great booking for any party, to be honest with you.
But realistically, the thing that we've discussed so many times is, what would the press be like? They'd be.
We grew up in Wishaw, and what we'll say is, in the grand scheme of things, we never grew up as saints. You know what I mean? Like we all have skeletons in the closet, if you will. Now those skeletons in the closet don't bother me, and most of the people who are my closest friends, or the people who all know me, or the people who I work with and stuff, I don't really, as you're more than aware, because we've only known each other for a few months in the grand scheme of things. I don't really hide anything. There's no point in hiding anything because it is who I am and it is what. And no, but that's what.
Making them a front room yesterday was not. I mean, I didn't mind, but hide something.
I just we have a pillow or something. We have a pillow.
Clean that kid.
Man, it is indeed. But yeah, I mean, it is because I kind of wear it on my sleeve, or it's what shaped me, and I know it is. But that's not how other people perceive things, and they will attack you.
Surely, I mean, listen. Surely here's what's wrong with our politics now. So I think about my heroes in the world of politics. people like Michael Heseltine, weirdly, Lord Peter Carrington, both Tories,
Yeah.
but they had lives outside politics. Alan Johnson had a lot of time for. He was a postie. He was a union man that came in.
Yeah.
Barbara Castle, the same. You know, politics should never be a career in and of its own.
Yeah, and I think that's half the problem at the moment.
More than
Yeah, well, as career politicians are.
George Osborne, our once Chancellor of the Exchequer, do you know he had one job outside politics between university and politics? Do you know what that job was? He worked at Selfridges on Oxford Street. Do you know what his job title was?
No.
King of Selfridges.
Towel refolder.
Wow. Right.
Just think that one through for a minute, Jack. They didn't trust him to fucking fold the towels the first time.
No. But he could have a look at it.
He could look at the towel and say,
fix
I
the dodgy
can
ones."
fix that towel that's been folded incorrectly.
What's Boris Johnson done, really? Apart from lie.
You get paid quite a lot to, write a column every week for the Telegraph, or not even every week, just every so often.
And that's the thing,
On
classically,
like a 2
classically
million
the big thing.
retainer or something
And
like that.
the classic.
I find massively upsetting. It's the Piers Morganification of society. Let's just think of who Piers Morgan is. He's a man that got fired for lying when he edited a newspaper. He then went to America to host the Tonight programme and took it to historically the lowest viewing figures of any primetime show on American television.
Yeah.
And he is celebrated.
And the thing is, you've got like 600 million people or something in the US. They religiously watch these. It's such an American heist thing, like that kind of Daily Show type thing. They religiously watch it. You have to be absolutely fucking garbage as a human being to turn off the viewing figures.
I'm a professional interviewer. That's what I do, right? I've done that on Radio 4 for years, on BBC One, Channel 4, that's what I do, right? Now, you listen to any of my programmes. I'm top and tailor, and then I'll have questions in the middle. But my programmes are a success because I'm not talking all the time.
Yeah.
You listen to Piers Morgan interview, and you tell me how many minutes for a 6-minute interview is about the contributor and how much of it is about that egomaniac. Because that's what he is.
Did you see there was a clip of him yesterday? I saw it on Facebook. It was on his show, and he had the young lassie, I don't know what her name is, but she'd been on Love Island a couple of years ago. She was a Scouser, and she didn't know what Brexit was. Basically, she was asking questions about it, and then she was kind of roundly ridiculed in the press for not knowing what Brexit is, even though quite a lot of the politicians in Westminster aren't sure what it is. So we had her on whatever that fucking morning TV programme with Susanna Reid. Yeah, I've never actually watched it. But he was basically trying to belittle this girl by asking her if she knew things, or what about, tell us what Pythagoras' theorem is. He said to her, for example, they said, tell me what Pythagoras' theorem is to the nearest 3 decimal places. Right?
Well, that's two different things. You fucking
exactly.
like, I'm going to have to.
Yeah. So and then quoted pi, and somebody in the background went, "That's fucking pi, mate."
But here's the thing.
Maybe he thought that's Pythagoras' theorem.
Invited me to your house, right?
Yeah.
And as it's a weird thing to explain, but the circumstances under which we met a few months ago,
Yeah.
was one of the more beautiful things that life has to offer, where you never realise you had a space in your life until somebody slotted and filled it, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
And to know you is for, I'm going to know you till I die. That's not controversial.
But that is because we're planning to murder you.
No, fair enough. I've got a little Ramboys coming. Proper hockey sticks.
Oh,
I
fuck.
think your baseball, these are curved at the end. You have punch them all nine, so we'll take your fucking eyes out there.
Wishy fucking rules.
Yeah, no.
She rules, there are no rules.
The feeling is very much mutual, man.
Absolutely.
So I come to your house and I've been shown nothing but the greatest hospitality, right? I've been watered. I'm going to be fed. I'm going to be looked after. And it's not that I expect that. It's just I kind of know the man you are. And that's the thing with Piers Morgan. You invite somebody on your show. That's them coming to your house.
Yeah.
They're not there for you to ridicule them.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to work with this lassie in Granada 20 years ago, and when reality telly was starting, and she used to refer to as Rachel Boyd, bless her. she'd go, here's a £5 partner, way make a cunt of yourself. Because that's what it is. We
Right.
live in schadenfreude times.
Yeah.
Now, pointing out the inadequacies of other folk do not move us forward, right? Now, if this Scouse lassie doesn't know much about Brexit, well, maybe we use that as a motif to explain that, but you know what? Quite a lot of folk don't know anything about Brexit.
Yeah.
And is it any wonder we're tired about it? Instead of, you're a liar, Piers Morgan. You were done for lying and deception. That woman can learn about Brexit. You'll never stop being a liar.
Yeah.
You never unhack people's phones.
Well, that's it. Another prime example of that, and another person who works directly with Boris Johnson and stuff, as we discussed in the last episode, is Cassandra Fairbanks, who is involved in that whole being a shite person from the media thing as well at the same time. And she is still, I mean, not as black-white, but essentially getting paid by our current running government and the top echelon of them to be advising and working alongside them, and still getting, essentially she's still making funny off the fact that that's what we're like, she's operating with our Tories, and she is also a noted and legal liar. Do you know what I mean? Like, she is a...
So you said there are Tories there. I'm going to go hashtag not my Tories.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah.
The number of times Boris has lied. The number of times. I mean, you got Amber Rudd, listen, a Tory's a Tory, and they're all the same to me. Like white people, they all look the same to me.
I mean, all Tories do look the
apart from
same.
like
Pretty and Sadiq.
What?
Apart from Pretty Patel and Sadiq.
I mean,
They're the worst, right?
no, do you know?
No, your girl who works, your girl who we spoke about before. She was a woman. She was a girl when she started, I think, but she's an ex-lover of a member of the IRA, and she's also she was
a
in his book,
counsellor,
and she's a counsellor for the Tories. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. We discussed her in great detail at the time, but essentially she was in a relationship with the head gun runner from the IRA, and she's now a counsellor. And a counsellor in London, but counsellor in London for the Tories, and it's like, that's it. There's a jump. There's a jump.
And here's what I struggle with. I watched Sajid Javid's speech, and I should have been proud. I should have been proud that a brown second generation kid has done that well. But what would his mum and dad have actually said?
Yeah.
And Priti Patel, I mean, and listen, I've got a couple of issues. And I don't mean to be rude, right? But David Davis, Sajid Javid, quite a few of folk involved orbiting the core of the Tory parties now are, I'm afraid to say, thick as fucking mints.
Yeah.
Priti Patel is another. I mean, she broke ministerial rules and she's now the Home Office Minister. Where's the accountability?
It wasn't, I mean, it was like literally about 4 or 5 months ago as well.
That long ago.
Yeah.
I was within this
And it's
run.
completely
Forgotten
forgotten.
about.
And she's the child of an immigrant standing up in front of the Tory conference saying she's pulling the ladder up.
Yeah.
But you know what? Fuck you and fuck your people, because you do not represent me. And I get that. I mean, whatever the Uncle Tom, the Uncle Theologian, that's what you are. You don't fucking respect yourself enough that you'll. But listen, here's the thing.
Why would you even put your tuppence worth in with the Tories if that's the background that you come from? Like, I find it hard to marry those two things up.
So for me, it's, if you don't like Van Morrison, we can't talk, right? If you don't rate Alan Partridge, we can't talk. If you don't think Margaret Atwood's a fucking genius, we can't talk. And if you're a brown person that's prepared to put an X in the box of the Tories, having lived through the Monday Club, I mean, I lived through that. The racism, Google it. We don't have time to go to the Monday Club, right? If you don't know about it, I mean, what Thatcher did. I mean, forget the racism of it. Just the humanity of it.
Yeah.
Here he's sitting in Lanarkshire, and his fucking heart ripped out without any anaesthetic.
She's not that popular here.
Well, do you know, neither should you be.
No. No, she's definitely not.
In years to come, and I hope to fucking God in my lifetime, I get to write a bit of the history about the breakup of the Union. The breakup of the Union started in 79.
Yeah.
You know?
So what do you make of someone like Joe Swinson taking time in a national newspaper to suggest that we should be building a statue of Margaret Thatcher? What do you think about that?
Well, so I told you I was shortlisted for a constituency. It was Joe Swinson's constituency. I'd have beaten her.
Right.
My pal beat her
To death.
a
stick.
And I think Joe Swinson represents all the worst of what it is to be Scottish. You know, she spends all the time in fucking Bath and not in our constituency.
There's a guy like that. There's another guy that spends a lot of time in Bath.
Listen, climb without wings. And I think, well, listen, I hate the idea of leaving Europe. And I latch on the notion that my country didn't vote to leave Europe.
Yeah.
But how can the Liberal Democrats call themselves Democrats if their approach to Brexit is to simply say no? I mean, it's what...
There has to be a level of acceptance at some point.
Accept the result,
Yeah.
you know? Now, if you make a compelling argument to you that actually that Brexit is not what you voted for, that's fine. We can have that to and fro, but don't. You can't be a Democrat and then automatically say we're not going to fucking honour it.
Yeah.
But also that fucking ball bag, that one, which is that fucking dick. Statue of Margaret Thatcher. Excellent. More things to burn.
So
How can you have a fucking statue of a woman that ripped the heart out of our fucking country?
Well, that's it. I mean, and like as Jerry said, because she's far from loved here, and that's pretty much because of all the places. And we've actually discussed this in like many times before, kind of off air, like where we come from, like what the Tories done here, we felt directly, but also Keir Hardie is from here. And also our family are the people who the Tories mobilised the military against and George Square. Yeah. Like when they were fighting for the rights of the workers. I mean, like, we are from an area that has you know that way when people talk about Jeremy Corbyn sometimes they say historically he's always in the side of the right side of history. Lots of where we're from are always in the right side of history, or you know what I mean, or have been.
Definitely, there was a point at which I used to do a thing on a show. My shows, my Edinburgh shows, my live stand-up shows become increasingly more political as the culture become more political. In 1918, the three poorest constituencies in the UK were Springburn, Shettleston, Maryhill. I live next to Shettleston. I got the bus through Springburn twice a day, and Maryhill's next to where my folks live. So these places are real to me.
yeah.
Right? Yeah. I'd go to those places. Right? Peter Capaldi, Amanda Unici, two pals of mine came from Springburn. Right? I dated a woman from Maryhill. Right? The MP for Shettleston's a dear friend of mine, was a dear friend of mine. These are real places to me. 1918, three poorest constituencies, Jerry. So, from 1918 to 2004 being the time at which they relayed the boundaries, those three poorest constituencies sent not just an unbroken run of Labour MPs to Parliament. We're talking about the ex-Speaker, Martin. Right? We're talking about record-setting majorities in those seats. What were the three poorest constituencies in 2004? Springburn, Shettleston, Maryhill.
Yeah.
And here's all I say to you, simple as fuck. If the Labour Party cannot elevate their own people, the working class women and men of Scotland, out of poverty, what's their fucking raison d'etre? He fucking haul.
Yeah.
Right? The Labour Party have failed their own people. That's why the SNP are doing so well. But the SNP, and I say this as a card-carrying member, once we get independence, I will leave the SNP and join the Scottish Socialist Party, because that's what I believe in. I believe in a redistribution of wealth. I believe in looking at judges society not by how they treat the wealthiest, but how they treat those with the greatest need.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, once Scotland becomes independent, there might be another socialist grounded party that we and Jerry and various other like-minded people may be involved in forming. But what I mean is exactly that. It's that
Yeah,
way.
like,
And once Scotland does become
it's an
independent,
opportunity to start from scratch.
Start from scratch, and you have something that's working at proper grassroots.
I want, I grew up in Eastern Berkshire, right? We had Sam Galbraith as our MP. He was a fucking amazing MP. A neurosurgeon who became an MP. Such was the calling he felt.
Yeah.
He's taken a cut in the salary.
Yeah.
A substantial cut in salary, may I add.
Do you think that's an issue then? Do you think that because it's not big money in relation to a lot of like top industries that we're never going to get the best people attracted?
No, we're not going to get the best people because the best people don't want to be trailed through the press.
But does that also not then create another problem where, because it's not big money, the opportunity for corruption and backhanders and for representation stuff then becomes much more prevalent? Because essentially, if you were making 200 grand a year, if you're making 70 grand a year and somebody's going to give you 60.
Yeah.
The conundrum is, I made a joke. Tell the story, probably good. So I was a youth supervisor at Parliament.
Yeah.
And I phoned Hamza and I said, listen, I was asked to go up to the House of Lords. I've been asked 3 times to go to the House of Lords. I've never said yes. It's easy money, right? So I mean about I'm not rich. I could be, but I've got principles that stops me wanting to be rich in that way. As I said, should I? It would be good for the party. He goes, no, fuck that. He says, we don't believe in this. I don't believe in it either, but I just thought it was helpful.
Yeah.
And he said, it should be an MSP. And I jokingly said to him, I said, I couldn't deal with a cut in salary. And he said, no, you'll get a ministry. Your pay will get bumped up. And I'm like, and it made me think, I just made a joke. I never thought about the money. If I'm going into public office, I don't give a fuck about the money.
But not everybody's in that position, like to be,
But that's my point, in a sense, Jerry, is that you should never want to be a politician for the money.
No, of course, right. But
on the other hand, you need to be fucking paid.
Yeah.
And I think get rid of all the expenses and just give them 150 grand a year and pay for all of the expenses. It's a difficult one to work. But then I also think there was a nice idea, it's an Extinction Rebellion idea of a revolving kind of people's parliament sort of thing.
Like true democracy. So essentially the way that they operated at some point or other in Greece, which is essentially... I mean, they get rid of that people's democracy a while ago now. But yeah, essentially, so you are drafted, if you will, into the role where you are then actually representing something from the field that you come from or something. Not just drafted, like, don't just like draft Jenny in to discuss like education because it's maybe not his forte.
It's amazing, shouldn't you, somebody like you be advising on IT?
Technology.
Even advising on
engineering and
technocracy.
Oil.
Yeah.
And technocracy, I mean, this is the problem with the major issue about the creation of a genuinely deep political class is the alienation of other folk. To stand as councillors and all the rest of it. There are all these levels of representation before you get to Parliament. That folk are like, what the fuck would I want to do that now? But don't you want your streets to be cleaner? Don't you want your products to be attended to?
There's an element of the sort of the whole pomp and ceremony of the place, the traditions of Westminster, etc., are designed to kind of put people from North Lanarkshire off of the idea that it's something attainable for them.
It's like
fucking airmen. We've got a House of Lords. Think about that for a minute. We fought against the unelected in Brussels. What the fuck is anyone doing about the unelected in fucking Westminster?
It's essentially legalese, but and actual a personification of legalese, which is make it so difficult for people to be able to just step into it. But then New Labour and the Tories are both great examples of career politicians. Lots and lots of career politicians who just step into.
Before she died, what her greatest achievement was, we still was Tony Blair.
Yeah.
Right, we're done now.
I think we pretty much are.
Because I've got to eat food now.
What have you got coming up, Hardeep?
What have you got coming up, Hardeep?
I've got shut your face. I'm Mr. Paul McCann here.
We've got one up, yeah.
He's going to be my sous chef. Pop up for that.
it's a hop yard in Sussex, isn't it?
Sussex,
You going to play Edinburgh next year?
I don't know. You know, I'm having a bit of a crisis over the money thing about Edinburgh. I feel it's not particularly egalitarian. And I mean, I've never lost money in Edinburgh, but a lot of folk do, and I kind of think maybe I'm doing Edinburgh to different Edinburgh. Maybe I'll go to the estates and the schemes and doing Edinburgh there.
That would be cool.
You know what? Should we do
Yeah.
that?
Maybe we do a Devil's Advocate type thing or something like that in Edinburgh, something like that.
There's a big park right there. We could have a big festival in there.
That's happened before. But we should.
I'd love that.
But maybe we should. Maybe we should do like a Devil's Advocate type thing and something next year.
I never stop fucking working this point, is it?
Always working an angle.
Right.
That's grand.
Okay, it was great having you on,
Oh,
Hardeep.
do you know what? You're my fucking family, you pair of cunts.
You were again.
Aye, whatever.
Done.